Energy is the driving force behind a nation's economic and social progress. Brazil and the world cannot advance without electric power. Over the next decade, Brazil needs to increase its installed electricity generation capacity by 60%. Availability of electric power will help reduce social disparities and set the bases for sustainable economic growth. Brazil has the world's cleanest energy mix. Whereas in most countries of the developed world, renewable energy accounts for no more than 17% of electric power requirements, as compared to a world average of 19%, in Brazil, 86% of electricity produced comes from clean, renewable sources. At present, hydroelectric power plants provide 80.6% of the Brazilian electricity supply. Nonetheless, only 30% of the nation's hydroelectric potential has been harnessed, and utmost caution is always exercised when planning new projects. Studies on the Xingu River clearly illustrate this caution. The first hydropower potential surveys date from 1975. Initial studies foresaw generation capacity of 20,000 megawatts through construction of 6 power plants. However, to achieve this potential, an area of 18,000 square kilometers would have to be flooded. Since that time, Brazil has undergone profound changes, for the better. After numerous studies, in 2008, the Brazilian Energy Policy Council determined that Belo Monte would be the only hydroelectric plant in the Xingu River basin. This decision was taken not only on the basis of technical considerations, but above all, out of concern for the environment and respect for the views of local populations. Under this comprehensive energy policy approach, the Belo Monte feasibility studies advanced remarkably. The surface area of the reservoir was reduced by almost half, from 1,225 to 503 square kilometers. In its current form, roughly half the area of the reservoir will lie within the Xingu's natural riverbed. With this smaller reservoir, the project will cause no flooding of lands occupied by indigenous populations. A comprehensive survey of indigenous populations was carried out by organizations chosen by the communities. Over 30 public hearings were conducted in villages of the 12 indigenous communities living in the area of influence of Belo Monte. The outcome was a series of healthcare, education and environmental conservation programs designed to ensure respect and preservation of indigenous culture. Likewise, the interests of local townsfolk were not overlooked. Belo Monte will defray the entire cost of installation of basic sanitation infrastructure in the towns of Altamira and Vitória do Xingu. Families in Altamira, currently living in substandard housing, will receive new homes served by modern urban facilities. Indeed, measures targeted at serving the needs of local populations are already being deployed, even prior to start of construction. And new schools and health facilities are among the first such improvements. Safeguarding wildlife and the tropical rainforest also merits its special care and constant monitoring. The Belo Monte project will be investing 3,700 million reais in over 100 socio-economic and environmental projects. Belo Monte will be the world's third largest hydroelectric power plant, with installed capacity of 11,233 megawatts. Its highly original design will harness the 90-meter drop between Altamira and the point where the BR-230 highway crosses the Xingu River immediately downstream from the Big Bend. A dam will be built at Pimental, 40 kilometers from Altamira, from which a 20-kilometer canal will divert a portion of the river's flow to a reservoir. The main power plant, located at the Belo Monte site, will generate 11,000 megawatts using 18 Francis turbines. At the Pimental site, a secondary powerhouse will generate a further 233 megawatts using 6 bulb turbines. Alongside the secondary powerhouse, a spillway will direct flows from the dam to the big bend of the Xingu to maintain the flows mandated in studies. This design enables maintenance of natural water levels in the Xingu River, a significant reduction of areas flooded, preservation of 27,000 hectares as permanent protection areas, no flooding of indigenous areas, and improved living standards for riverside populations. In 2010, Monte Energia won the tender for the concession to build Belo Monte and market electricity produced. Work on this huge and complex hydroelectric site will be ongoing until 2019. In 2013, when work is fully underway at the project's 4 work sites, some 20,000 direct jobs and 40,000 indirect jobs will have been created. Electric power generation is an essential component for fostering sustainable development, and Monte Energia has an outstanding role to play in building the future, generating employment, income and progress for Brazil as a whole. Engineering works at Belo Monte will be carried out simultaneously at 4 sites: Pimental, the Diversion Canal, Bela Vista and Belo Monte. Since each will have independent structures and most work will be executed on dry land, construction will proceed swiftly and initial energy generation is due to begin in 2015. Nonetheless, the logistical challenges of managing these 4 work sites, each with its own workshops, are indeed formidable. Cafeterias and living quarters. The scale of the project is so vast that the first 6 months will be spent assembling work sites, installing gravel crushing plants, concrete mixers and other facilities. Over an 8-year period, more than 700 heavy earth-moving machines, tractors and bulldozers will be deployed. Hundreds of trucks will be needed, and orders have already been placed for the first batch of 540. Duration of work at each of the 4 work sites will vary, with peak activity in late 2013. By then, work on concrete structures and assembly of equipment at the Pimental site will be fully underway, bearing in mind that 6 turbines are to be in operation by the end of 2015. Also in 2013, along the 20.5-kilometer stretch of the Diversion Canal, excavation work, concreting of the channel bed, laying of rockfill and building of dikes will be fully underway. By the end of 2015, the work on this canal will have been concluded and the intermediate reservoir will be ready to receive flows to power the first turbine in the main powerhouse. Work on this concrete structure will proceed as the project as a whole reaches its peak. The main powerhouse and penstocks at Belo Monte are divided into 2 groups, enabling power generation to begin in stages. At the intake, a wall separates these 2 groups, whereas downstream their tail races are separated by a rock buttress. Adoption of this strategy enables the first turbine of the main powerhouse to enter operation in March 2016. Thenceforth, at 2-month intervals, a new turbine will be added to the system, with the last of the 18 units due to be installed in February 2019. Workers' accommodation areas will constitute well-structured communities, served by pharmacy and post office. Each will have a leisure centre, internet cafe, library, cinema and theatre, and accommodation blocks will have Wi-Fi broadband connections. Sports facilities will include playing courts, indoor football grounds and athletics facilities. All workers, regardless of professional status, will have access to the same catering and health services. All cafeterias will serve high-quality meals. When work reaches its peak, estimated daily consumption will require 97 tons of beef, 69 of poultry, 37 of pork, and 10 of cold cuts, plus 410 tons of cereals, 130 of fruit, and 80 tons of vegetables. Primary health care for workers will be provided through outpatients units at each worksite, with an ambulance and mobile intensive care unit constantly on standby. At the main residential site, a complete hospital will be built, equipped with operating theatres, delivery rooms and a paediatric ward. The well-being of workers is a prime concern, and for those originally from distant parts of Brazil, fares will periodically be provided so they can visit their families. Discussion of engineering projects focuses attention on machinery, equipment, infrastructure and deadlines, but the human dimension must never be overlooked. These workers are devoting their lives to construction of Belo Monte.